too, you talk about scrapping the whole Iraqi security plan. I mean, almost everybody who's done an assessment on these benchmarks, the most critical benchmarks in terms of political reconciliation, the legislation that's required in order to come to some agreement on oil revenue sharing and those things, said that it doesn't matter that if you get Alawi's out there now campaigning for the job and so forth, that the political system itself is fatally flawed. You'd have to almost scrap that and start from the beginning, because nobody believes that they'll ever reconcile as long as you have these competing interests feuding with each other, and in some respects it's all to their mutual best interest to keep the chaos going.
You bring up a good point, Ron, because here's where my head is starting to go with this, and I want to get all of your reactions to this. I think there is an element of drawing it out and this notion that they don't want to make the hard decisions. But on the other hand, is it possible that these people, that Dick Cheney, that George Bush, that these neocons, this is mission accomplished, that the only failure has been that there has been the American public has turned against the war, that in fact the notion that there would be this fractured country, the fact that there is a low-level conflict, the fact that we will have, whether it's 120,000 troops or 150,000 troops or 70,000 troops for the next 10, 15, 25 years with losing 1,000 a year or something, that's just fine. That is mission accomplished. All we wanted was to have that presence there because of the...
Gosh, you're dark, Sam.
I know. I don't know.
Gosh, that's depressing.
No, I mean, Dr. Daniels. I mean,
not only is it depressing, Sam. If that is the case, I mean, these guys are more bizarre in their thinking than I thought. Because at the end of the day, if we were to, you don't have to step back. I mean, the real winner in this whole proposition has been Iran. You talked about earlier whether there might be an attack on Iran or whatnot, but it's clear that Iran has been the big winner. It's clear that the region is more unstable now than it was before, that Hezbollah is stronger, that Hamas is stronger. I mean, all the people the United States claims to be frightened of and wants to somehow discombobulate have actually gotten stronger, and clearly there are more terrorists being manufactured or created or finding a training ground in Iraq. So, and the oil, I mean, if they want to stabilize the country or get to the point where they could use the oil, that's not working because now the oil is not really flowing in any significant degree. So I understand your cynicism, but that's...
Well, hold on 1 second, okay? We never got the majority, and we still don't get the majority of our oil from the Middle East. The only people who do is actually China and Japan. And so at the end of the day here, we know there's no existential threat to this country by any terrorist organization. There simply isn't. There is no way ever a terrorist will be able to annihilate America like, let's say, the Soviet Union could have. So we have a situation here where, yes, the winner is supposedly Iran. If you use the calculation that we are looking for and our leaders are looking for a more stable world, and they want to have a prominent America. But if you use the calculation that they see some looming threat from China economically, and the best way is to make sure that if there's something that the region is unstable, it doesn't make a difference. We have 70,000 troops there. What do you think, Christy? Am I just particularly dark because I'm working on Labor Day weekend?
I think that might be part of it, Sam, and I think part of it is looking at the whole of the failures of the Bush foreign policy strategy, if I can be so bold as to even call it a strategy. And I think, looking at it from all of the perspectives, what we need, and I think what all of us keep hoping for is leadership on the Democratic end of things, where someone, say, like Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or John Edwards or one of the presidential candidates who's getting a lot more press than any of the folks in the leadership, stand up and say, you know what, they're doing this wrong. The president and his people are making us less safe, and here is what we need to do to make things better. We need people to hammer that over and over and over again. Swopa did a post for us on Thursday this week about that very issue. Jane and I have followed up on it a couple of times this week as well. Atrios has posted on it. Digby has. We've all kind of been batting this idea back and forth for the last month or so, hoping over the break the Democrats would gel into some sort of consensus and come back and combat the Bush administration's failures head on with, you are a failure, here is why, and here's what we need to do to correct it. And instead we've come back at the end of the break with this sort of mishmash of people just kind of throwing things up in the air, and we're not getting the leadership that we were hoping for on this. And, I think all of us are looking at this with such a sense of frustration right now, because we cannot keep looking at a Republican Party which has failed the United States so badly on so many fronts, which is not standing up and saying, enough already. That's what we want.
George Packer has a post in the New Yorker blog. I guess it was just 2 days ago, quoting Barnett Rubin, who is a Afghan expert at New York University. Apparently, this Barnett Rubin spoke to someone at a unnamed right-wing think tank, and reports that this is the source at the institution, have instructions from the Office of the Vice President to roll out a campaign for war with Iran in the week after Labor Day. It will be coordinated with the American Enterprise Institute, the Wall Street Journal, the Weekly Standard, Commentary, Fox, and the usual suspects. It will be heavy, sustained assault on the airways designed to knock public sentiment into a position from where a war can be maintained. And apparently there was a follow-up on this, and Barnett Rubin said that it came from someone inside one of these think tanks who says, I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative, but I'm not a raging lunatic. This is lunatic. What if there is an attack on Iran, a surgical strike? What happens then, Christy Harvey? I mean, how does the Democratic Party leadership, how do our campaign people who are running for president, how do they react?
Sam, my mom always taught me when I was young, don't start a new war until you finish the one that you've got. It's really going to be scary, because especially now with Iran specifically trying to rattle the sabers and get everybody all freaked out and fired up, it's in their best interest to keep us nervous and on our toes and that sort of thing. But I think that what Democrats really have to keep in mind are two stories that came out over the past week. In one, the Joint Chiefs of Staff and Secretary Robert Gates spoke to President Bush this week specifically about the long-term strain of the current war on the troops and their families from these long-repeated combat tours. And they've said, we're not sure how much longer we can keep this up. Same thing, Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois supposedly had dinner in Baghdad with General Petraeus recently, where General Petraeus also said that he thought that our troops were being pushed to the limit. So we can't start all of these other wars and start all of these other combat situations when you don't have the military to back it up. And that's, I think, one of the big looming disasters that we're going to see happen very, very quickly. So I think that what Democrats and what the leadership really has to do right now is insist that we get back in fighting shape, that we get our ducks back in a row and try and undo some of the damage that this White House has inflicted on our military before they can and really start talking about any other conflicts.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Ron Daniels, give me your sense of that. I mean, I think everybody who is of a sane mind realizes that it's not possible that these people would bomb Iran or try and engage in a war with Iran, because we don't have the capacity to do it. But what if they do?
It is lunacy, and I shudder, because I thought a lot of things were lunacy. So
right.
It's scary, because you never know what these folks are going to do. But I think it seems to me that such an attack would really even stampede towards with the election looming. There's already high prospects that a punch-drunk Democratic Party will, in fact, make major gains in the next election, hopefully capture the presidency. So I just think this is lunacy, and I just doubt that this would happen. But if it would be catastrophic, I think, for the Republican side, and certainly would be catastrophic for U.S. interests overall, frankly.
I hope you're right. All right. Well, Christy Harvey, Christy Harden-Smith, Dr. Ron Daniels, thank you so much for joining us this week on Seder on Sundays. Next time you come on, I'll be a little bit lighter. We should have talked about light and crime.
It was good.
All right, guys. We got to take a break. 866-303-2270. We will be right back. We'll take some of your phone calls after this.